This is a 2020 Jeep Compass. At one point, it was the most affordable, least expensive, entry-level vehicle at Jeep, and well, that remains true. However, a lot of things changed over the last few years, namely the death of the Patriot and a few other things. This is completely new from a few years ago, and this is actually the first time that I get to drive it. Coincidentally, it was never available when I was. That's my problem. But then, here you go. Here it is. So the base price, it remains the most affordable Jeep, but you'll see what I'm trying to say. $26,700 will get you a front-wheel drive, 6-speed manual sport with the only engine available in the Compass, the Tiger Shark 2.4-liter engine. At the very other end of the spectrum, you have the limited, the high altitude, that with options can easily climb well above $40,000. Now this one, if you have a keen eye for details, you'll notice a few things like that and some red accents. This is a 2020 Trailhawk version, which in my opinion, and this applies for just about every Jeep product, it always is the most interesting. Here's that badge, which gives it all away right in my shadow. Pricing for this starts at $34,500. What do you get for that price? Well, you get those red tow hooks. No, I kid. You see that black roof? That's part of the package. You get 17-inch wheels. You get a dedicated, off-road suspension, which I firmly believe is one of the best things about the Trailhawk. You also get Jeep Active Drive with a 4x4 low setting, which truly sets this SUV apart from the competition and from the remainder of the Compass line. You also get premium cloth seats, 7-inch instrument panel display. You connect 8.4 with the 8.4-inch screen. What else do you get? A whole bunch of things. So that's for $34,500. Now, my tester has a number of options, as you might expect, like the cold weather package, which is a must with the heated steering wheel and so on and so forth. Popular equipment package, premium lighting, all fancy whatever things. Power hatch, sunroof for a grand, and the active safety things, whatever, for a grand total of $42,800. Yes, that's a lot of money for a small SUV. But this is a lot of SUV-ish, kinda. What you do need to know, as I've mentioned, the dedicated off-road suspension as well as the Jeep Active Drive. If you look carefully, I'll scooch down, there's a lot of ground clearance right there. This is for real, 8.5 inches under there. And if you look, the overhang in the rear, I'll try not to trip as I walk sideways on the snow, and the overhang in the front, this has serious approach and departure angles. This thing is for real. Within reason, you should not get stuck. However, I did go off-roading a little bit, and if you look around, yeah, that's what I've been driving in, and with Blizzaks, however great they are, they're not designed for mud. Styling-wise, it's a Trailhawk, so it always stands out from the remainder of the pack. Let's do the usual tour. So as I mentioned, one of the options. Power hatch, which opens up to 800 liters of trunk space. I have a hard time believing that that's 800 liters. I don't know where probably 150 to 200 liters of that are, but there's another thing too. With the ground clearance and suspension and all that, the liftover is actually really high. But if you're about 5'10", it works out nicely. Anyhow, smallish trunk, definitely in the category for the price, far from being one of the biggest. Second row. This is where a lot of the space is actually gone because it's fairly roomy back here. And the seats are very soft. This is that premium cloth, soft text material, I think it's called. Plenty of room back here, 3 abreast, a little bit tight. Now, if we get in the front. Okay, so I'll just get in, start her up. It's not that cold, but it's not that warm either. And the starter button is back here where the key can be. There's your 7-inch display right there. It's quite lovely. There's a few menu options in there. What else can I show you? There's your 8.4-inch screen. Uconnect is still among the best ones. Some of the controls are fairly simple to get to. Others require a little bit more finagling. Like every time you select, I can't see through my phone. Every time you select, I knew it was there. Nav, you have to go and select the menu to show where you are. Anyway, layout is very familiar Jeep FCA stuff. Here's what makes the difference. This button right there, and a bunch of drive modes too, which can be useful should you ever use them. I mean, my mild off-roading trip did not involve any of that. I just put it in 4-wheel drive lock and everything was fine. Room up front is okay. Dashboard layout is fairly simple. That is not cool though. The blind spot created by the mirror and the huge base of the A-pillar, very not cool. And my seating position is the lowest, but I'm only about 3 inches away from the massive sunroof. That can be an issue. You know, if you look at it long enough, you'll see the Easter eggs, but I guess, those won't save pedestrians. Storage space is okay, I suppose. This is useless-ish. Your cup holders, this is really deep but small at the same time. Boom. The seats are soft, comfortable at the same time, not for the longest journeys, but overall, the Compass is nice. It's not your premium compact SUV. The Trailhawk does save it a little bit. And on the road, well, there's some highs and some lows. So actually, let's just get right to it and go for a drive. And off we go. Your keen eye has noticed the letters on the headrest behind me. Yes, they say TRD. This is in fact not the Jeep Compass Trailhawk. This is a 2020 Toyota RAV4 Trail with the TRD off-road package. Now I happen to be driving it this week as well, and they absolutely merit a comparison. I can tell you the main differences right now. If you look at the profile shot of the RAV4, you will notice that it does not have the same amount of ground clearance, not even close. The road is really, really bad. And approach and departure angles on this thing are laughable. But on nearly every other aspect, they are far closer in comparison than you can imagine. Both retail as equipped between $42,500 and $43,000. They are only a few $100s apart. Both have a dedicated off-road suspension. Both have Trick all-wheel drive systems. I am not comparing the two. The Compass is far superior with a full lock mode and a low range mode as well. This has various drive modes like the Compass and hill descent, but you won't get as far off-road as you might with a Compass. But let's be honest and fair, as we always say with these SUVs, the vast majority, the great 98% of us will never take these things where they could potentially go. And that brings to light the advantages to the RAV4. The global platform, far more compliant. This thing feels so much more solid, put together, solidly assembled. It does have one critical fault, however. That 203 horsepower, 2.54 cylinder engine is unforgivably loud. I almost get the impression Toyota pumps the engine noise into the cabin for some strange reason. Otherwise though, with the 8-speed automatic transmission, it feels faster, more responsive. Overall, this thing is more agile, handles as well or better than the Compass with these off-road suspensions. This thing is far roomier as well. Generally, I think a better buy. But let's move on ahead now and get behind the wheel of the Compass. Okay, but seriously, what I did forget to mention when I described what you get with the higher trim Jeep Compasses is the standard 9-speed automatic transmission, and I suppose I can get right to it now. It's lazy. It's just absolutely lazy. If you're lazy like it, then you will get along wonderfully well. If you just cruise and keep throttle inputs or pressure to a minimal amount, maybe go midway gently, it will glide from one gear to another. It will do a great job. If you do try and if you get all excited and then suddenly you want more, it's generally slow to react. It almost feels like a CVT at times, which is very weird. The last 9-speed autos that I've driven here, the Jeep Cherokee, maybe 2 years ago that was, I didn't get that rubbery, lazy, delayed response. The 2.4 liter engine doesn't exactly help the case. 180 horsepower, 175 pound-feet of torque, which for the application is generally speaking decent. Now, I'm not beating on this that hard, and I think once I figured it out, I'll have struggled quite a bit to keep this around 10 liters per 100 kilometers. Contrary to the RAV4, for example, the 2.4 is a heck of a lot quieter, where this thing has more sound deadening materials throughout the engine bay and the cabin or in the firewall, or I don't know. That's the big advantage to this. Wind noise is decent, not so bad. I'm doing about 75 kilometers an hour, so it's acceptable. Better than acceptable, in fact. Now, the dedicated off-road suspension. Now I'm going back into civilization, and the roads that I was just on are terribly rutted, broken, semi-destroyed by the thaw that is going on right now. And to my wonderment, this thing handled superbly well. And that's usually the case when you have a vehicle with a dedicated off-road suspension, which means, in part, that it has a fair amount of wheel travel. You know, the dampers are giving, compliant. This thing, sure, the wheels were going up and down quite a bit over some of the ruts, but the whole movement was very controlled. The truck wasn't going side to side. It was just staying true to the direction I was pointing it in. I really like the Jeep Compass. It has to be a Trailhawk in my opinion, even if I haven't driven a high altitude, but or any other trim for that matter. I mean, the Trailhawk, as I've said, is always the version to get. If at all for styling and possibly bragging rights is the wrong word, but you know, you want to say, I got a Compass Trailhawk, or you just want to tell all your friends that you have a Trailhawk. And I know, you know, if they know anything about Jeep, they'll be like, all right, good choice, good option. Over the RAV4, well, the thing is, if you're going to do some serious off-roading and you have a $40,000 budget, you'd probably be better off with a used Wrangler. If you're going to do mild off-roading, then what you get with the RAV4 Trail with the off-road TRD package and all that is sufficient to get you through wherever you need to go. And then you pile on the extra refinement, the extra space. Styling is a question of tastes, obviously. But Toyota's global platform remains an absolute wonder. I mean, especially they retail for the same price. It's nearly impossible to overlook the RAV4. But there is one difference, though. Toyota won't heavily discount their RAV4s like Jeep will discount all of its products. So there's that. You might end up paying $2,000 less, $3,000 less than a RAV4, but it's still not the same. This thing is cool, but for normal, reasonable, cottage trail off-roading purposes and taking the family around, RAV4 Trail.